All right, guys. So, welcome back to Middle Class Reactions. Theo and JD Vance talk very briefly for about 8 minutes on the conflict in Gaza. Got to give props to Theo for even bringing this conversation up with JD Vance, especially that kind of hot button topic. But we're gonna take a look and see. I'm gonna go ahead and let you know this isn't. They don't go super deep into it. This isn't a full debate, but it is the first time I've seen JD Vance even really talk about it. So I did want to show that to y'all. So let's take a look.
And on like the Gaza thing, just sort of chat about that for a little bit. I mean, I'm like a human being, so I look at this stuff, I see these videos, I see the pictures, and it's very heartbreaking. And just since you brought it up, like what we're trying to do here is try to solve two problems here. Okay, so on the one hand, you've got innocent people, innocent Palestinians, and innocent Israeli hostages, by the way, who are like caught up in this terrible violence that's happening as we speak. Okay. And we're trying to get as much aid and as much support into people as humanly possible. That's like one thing that's going on. The other side is Israel's attacked by this terrible terrorist organization. I think people sometimes forget that, right? They forget like the thing that kicked this off is that we had this terrible terrorist attack, and you had a lot of innocent Israeli civilians die in that terrorist attack. And so I think what we're trying to do in the Trump administration with that situation is to get to a peaceful resolution. And I think the peaceful resolution looks something like this. You've got to give Israel confidence that Hamas is never going to attack them and kill a bunch of civilians. And then you've got to get as much aid and support into these innocent Palestinians as possible, because in some ways they're caught in the middle of this thing too. One thing that I don't love about the whole Israel-Palestinian debate is I think it kind of degrades our humanity a little bit, because I've seen people on the left, mostly on the left, who will say, well, they'll completely ignore that Israel, like all these innocent Israelis were killed in this terrorist attack. And then you have some people, usually on the right, who will completely ignore that there are like kids who are caught up in this violence. And I think it's why the president has been, I call him the president of peace. It's why he cares about solving this problem, because the longer this goes on, the more suffering, the more death. So we're trying to solve it as much as we can. It's not easy.
Do you have a say in it?
Yeah, of course. I mean, well, the president's obviously the person who makes the final decision all the time. But yeah, I mean, we certainly, I think I'm one of the few people that he's talking to constantly. We're constantly, we're talking to the Israeli government. We're talking to people in the Arab world. We're talking to people in the Palestinian territories. Like, we're constantly engaging in diplomacy. I mean, one of the crazy things, dude, is this guy is a very dear friend of the president's. He's our special envoy of the Middle East, Steve Witkoff. He's a Jewish guy, very pro-Israel. He's done more to try to bring this conflict to a close than anybody. And you sometimes have people who say that they're pro-Israel who attack Steve for not being pro-Israel enough. And I think it's totally bogus. Like, I see this guy operate every single day. He actually is. Like, he's a Jewish guy who believes in the purpose of the state of Israel. He also is a guy with a heart who's trying to prevent the killing.
Yeah.
And I think there's just, like, when I talk about this whole debate has caused us to lose our humanity, I think of the people who are constantly going after Steve, because this is a guy, he's a father. He lost one of his own children because of an overdose. And he loves people. He believes in the value of human life, and he's doing a really good job. And he's one of the important people in the president's ear too.
Yeah, it seems like I've heard of Mr. Witkoff, but I never met him. But I
Good
would
dude.
Yeah.
You should have him.
I think the tough thing, just as a regular person, right? It's like we're seeing all these videos of people like picking up pieces of their children, and like,
Of course.
it's the sickest thing I think it's ever been televised. Basically, if you consider watching something on your phone
It's
being
very
televised,
sad, man.
It feels like a massacre, and it feels like, I've called it a genocide. Other people have different thoughts about it, and that's fine, right? And I don't need anybody to share the same thoughts, or you two. But I think
That little section right there, what Theo just said, like, hey, I think it's a genocide, and I don't need anyone to share the same thoughts, and I don't need you to, making it clear that, they can disagree on this. Props to Theo for saying that. One, saying that he thinks it's a genocide to the vice president's face. So, I really do appreciate Theo doing that. I do think JD Vance is sensible enough to where he might actually listen to someone like Theo. Like because he's Theo in the podcast world more so represents the normal person. Like Joe Rogan, as much as people like watching him. He doesn't represent, like, you don't look at Joe and think, oh, he's a normal guy. You do look at Theo and be like, oh, he's just one of us. He's a normal dude, So I do think JD Vance might actually take that with, some consideration. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong on that. But I'm happy Theo actually did say that to the vice president's face.
Where it gets scary is that we give, we're complicit in it because we help fund like military stuff, and that's where as like a regular guy, you're like, well, I'm paying these taxes and they're going towards this, like, but you can't do anything, like you can talk, but it's like, you can't, I don't understand how it becomes like tough for people. Like sometimes it feels like we look out for the interests of Israel before we look out for the interests of America.
So let me say a couple things. So number one, like, I think you're a great dude, so we don't always have to agree on everything. Do I think do I think it's a genocide? No. And here's the reason why I don't think it's a genocide, because I don't think that the Israelis are purposely trying to go in and murder every Palestinian. I don't think that's what they're doing. I think they got hit hard, and I think they're trying to, like, sort of destroy this terrorist organization, and war is hell, and that is true. I also think it's true, man. I mean, I've seen people on my side of the political aisle. I'm a Republican, that, but your audience may not, who will see these videos of these innocent Palestinian kids and say, oh, well, they had it coming to them. No. Like, if you have a soul, your heart should break when you see a little kid who's suffering, which is why we have the policy that we have, which is we're trying to eliminate the conflict, eliminate the source of the conflict, so that we can actually bring some peace and some humanitarian assistance into people. And that's my basic view. And the president's interesting. He's a pro-Israel guy.
Yeah.
And he also recognizes that to bring any conflict to a close, you've got to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
And so, we've been attacked. I've been attacked. The president's been attacked for being too interested in diplomacy. And you ask, like, what can I do? I think that what people should demand is that if our tax dollars are going to something, we should be actively trying to fix it. Okay, that's kind of the way that I think about it. And what happened with the Biden administration, man, it's crazy.
So that's where they get off the topic of the Hamas thing and the Israel thing. Like I said, they didn't talk about it long. It wasn't super in depth, but it's the first time JD Vance has openly talked about it. So I did want to show y'all what he was saying about it. Of course, I disagree with JD on this one. I think it's a genocide myself. And I think he's being real soft with Israel when he says, like, oh, Israel's trying to destroy this terrorist organization and kids sometimes get caught in the middle. It's being super soft on him. But, Vance isn't known to be hard on Israel, so it's, kind of expected. Props to Theo for even asking it, and props to him for openly saying, hey, I think this is a genocide. So, yep, that's what I got for you on this one. Like, share, subscribe, do everything you know you need to, and I'll catch y'all later.